It was really great to pray that Ephesians 3 before I gave this talk. When I first came to Ephesians 3, I was kind of a fall-away Catholic, and I actually came back as a result of this program. And I got to tell you, when I read that very long-winded quote, it didn't really mean that much to me at the time. But now it has so much significance, it has so much depth, and it really is a passage that means a lot to me. Let's begin with the topic of tonight. I'm going to talk about distraction and discouragement, and how we can sort of rethink this. Oftentimes we have like ADD. We're very busy people. We're students. And believe me, I just graduated. I've gone through all that, so I have a little bit of experience with that. We can also be discouraged, and this also sort of takes us away from our faith journey. And the basic topic of our series is this journey that we lead as Christians. And so I'm here to talk about how to recalculate, how to change our thinking about these snags, these moments of discouragement or distraction that occur in our Christian life. But first I got to begin with the story. There's this flip-flop, and it's brown, and it's made of cheap foam and everything, but it means something a lot to me. I was in the Ozarks doing field work. I'm a geography student going to grad school, and I was canoeing down the current river with my girlfriend Lindsay, and we were going and doing some field work, and we decided we're just going to take this Sunday off and have a good time. And so we start canoeing, and we're just so captivated by just how brilliant everything was. The dense forest and these huge, just sheer cliffs of limestone. It was just mesmerizing. And you really felt like God was present there as you were paddling down the river. So everything was going well until we hit a snag in the river. And Lindsay and I never really canoed that much. Well, I never canoed that much, and I was the one like steering and everything. Lindsay had a lot more experience. And so we go overboard. Myself, Lindsay, all our possessions flew overboard. We're in this ice-cold water, and we feel helpless. And we managed to get everything except my new $200 camera. That's gone. It's at the bottom of the current river. And we managed to get our oars, and we got our life jackets and everything. But as we were paddling down, about a mile downriver, I found this. It was my one flip-flop, and the other flip-flop's probably in the mouth of the Mississippi Delta by now. But I was so excited that the boat almost capsized as I was paddling to this flip-flop that was just floating downriver. And that kind of means something. It means how to make the best out of the worst situations when we're discouraged or distracted. And like the story of the flip-flop, sometimes we are too distracted to see the dangers ahead. Other times, misfortune comes out of nowhere when you least expect it, sending you into the proverbial waters with nothing to do, basically. And so this can be related to our faith life. As Christians, we are easily distracted. As people, we're easily distracted. And it's even easier for us to fall away from the faith when we're distracted. And in times of discouragement, when we're at our lowest, that's when it's easy to just cut loose and say, "See you, God, I'm out of here." And I'm going to address the distractions and then the discouragement later on in the talk. But first I'd like to talk about some of the distractions that come about. There was this priest from India named Anthony DeMello, and we could bring up a picture of him. Look, great smile and everything. He wrote this book called Awakening. And he's one of my favorite spiritual writers. I highly recommend that you read him. But in his book, Awakening, he talks about the necessity for us to wake up. We are spiritually asleep in our day-to-day lives. And what Anthony DeMello says is oftentimes we don't really realize this. And I'm willing to argue that this is due to us being distracted. And I would argue also that we're not necessarily like sleepwalking, like Walking Dead, like going through about our daily lives. We have those moments where, like on retreats or at church, where we get that really tingly feeling, like God really is there, and you feel these emotions and you really can sense it. And then you go out and you cross that line, you go out into the real world, and it's not there. You're just going back to the status quo, what you've normally been doing. And I like to call this spiritual narcolepsy, because you drift in and out of sleep oftentimes. And what we're trying to do is keep you from doing that, keep you at a good steady level. And sometimes it can be really hard because our spiritual lives aren't just these really good feel-good moments all the time. And most of the time they aren't. And to be honest, we really don't want to change. We want to become better people. We want to become the best Christians we can possibly be, but sometimes we're not really willing to change the things in our lives that are keeping us from that. For example, I'm sure you guys know F. Scott Fitzgerald, the great writer. He wrote Great Gatsby. I wonder why he never really wrote anything quite up to the quality of the Great Gatsby. Well, literary historians have argued that this is because he wouldn't change his lifestyle. He was too preoccupied with his wife Zelda's desires to go out, party, get drunk, and this really affected his ability to write. And drawing from F's life, I realize that we have a lot to do in order to live a radical Christian life. One where we're not spiritually narcoleptic or falling asleep altogether. But the thing is I'm not really willing to change the parts in my life to do so. And so it's time to recalculate how we perceive these distractions in our Christian journey. And to reiterate, Anthony DeMello says that we must accept the fact that we don't want to change. We have to really accept it. It's like the first step in the 12-step program for spirituality. We are all too often we're in our mindset, and I've gotten in this mindset, and it's like, okay, well, I'm in college. I'm going to go out, I'm going to go party and explore different ideas and new concepts and everything. That's great. But the problem is when this becomes self-destructive. If you go out way too much and you say, oh, I'm in college. Like, let's go experiment. Yeah, like college. Yeah, that's perfect. Sure, God will forgive, like if you do that, or like if you date like a bunch of people and then you decide, okay, Christianity is always there for me, but I'm just going to go date all these people. And date's a very soft word for that. And whether he likes it or not, Jesus will be there with you every step of the way, and we just don't really realize that. And so this sort of self-centered life sort of sends mixed signals to our spiritual life and our relationship with God. This way of thinking turns us into spiritual narcoleptics. If you get anything from this talk, you got to know this. Being a Christian is a lifestyle. It's not an extracurricular activity. You can't put it on a resume. But it becomes an extracurricular activity. We become consumed by our lives as college students. I just found out that I got accepted into K-State University in their geography program. This is a great blessing, but it will be a great challenge. Because geography is one of the few things in this world that I take seriously. I don't take a lot of things really that seriously. I mean, look at me. But I know I'm really quick to get caught up in my work. And I'm sure that a lot of you do as well. And we often lose awareness of Christ's presence in our life. And throughout the day, in my everyday life, I have these moments of anxiety. I'm really easy to get burnt out. And I'm just distracted by all the things going on and what I need to do to get ahead. With grad school, with research, with my job, with school. And but the wisdom of Christ, he really solves this problem when he brings up this quote. It's from Matthew chapter 6, verses 25 through 26. That is why I'm telling you not to be worried about your life and what you are to eat, nor about your body and what you are to wear. Surely life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Look at the birds in the sky. They do not sow or reap or gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not worth much more than they are? Well, we are, I'm pretty sure. And the thing is birds don't get burnt out doing what they do. They're birds. And that's what we need to be. We need to be ourselves. We need to really dive into who is the true us. And I feel like we can discover that on our Christian journey. It's time to recalculate. Our insanely high expectations of ourselves distract us from looking within. We also get distracted from our relationships with others. Our social lives, much like our career paths, our aspirations, can get in the way of our spiritual journey, our awareness of Christ in our lives. But I gotta tell you, I like to go to parties. I like having drinks with my friends. It's a great way to foster communion and growing as a group with your friends. But like I said before, it becomes dangerous when we let our social life, drugs, alcohol, whatever it may be, become a scapegoat for something deeper we're trying to cover up. And Matt Maher's song, Turn Around, it's one of my favorite songs. You're going to hear it later. It explains these types of distractions. And I'm going to try singing it, because why not? Some turn to a bottle. Some turn to a drug. Some turn to another's arms. But it seems like it's never enough. This is... I'm a drummer. I never sing before for a very good reason. But yeah, it never seems like it is enough. And I know, because I went through it. And I'm still going through parts of that in my life as well. And in Luke chapter 21, verses 34 through 36, Jesus says, watch yourselves, or your hearts will be coarsened by debauchery and drunkenness and the cares of life. And that day, the day Christ comes back, Judgment Day, fire and brimstone, all that, will come upon you unexpectedly like a trap. This is Jesus telling us to be awake. We need to be aware. And with that said, we must streamline our lives. We got to take our time through the really important parts of our life and trim off the unnecessary things that distract us from God. And on another note, the clash between politics and church teachings makes up another distraction. Too many times we become consumed with the debate of hot-button topics and how the media spins these issues. Granted, I'm willing to assume that many of us have disagreed with one or more of the church's teachings. That's just a fact of life. And sometimes this disagreement distracts our focus on God and centers purely on worldly matters. For example, I used to be in a men's faith group meeting. We met every week, and every week, like clockwork, we would diverge from talking about how we can improve ourselves, about as becoming men of God, to the latest hot button topic that came up in the news, and it just kept coming up, and we didn't really get anything out of our faith group then. And Pope Francis was right when he said that we should discuss these topics in context. They should define our identities as Christians or Catholics, Catholic Christians. I get the semantics wrong. Otherwise, we become bitter and way too emotional and not understanding of the opposite side. So I addressed some of the distractions in our lives. I'm going to move on to discouragement as well. Let's begin with the self. We are our own worst interrogators. Self-doubt will do more damage than any person or the devil or whoever might do. Like, people don't even have to do anything. We just do it to ourselves. And the times when I fall away from the faith, it's usually because of me, like what I did. And it wasn't anyone else. It's my mind telling me that I'm not good enough, that I'm not nowhere near the person to become Christ-like. And yesterday I did a 3-minute meditation on forgiveness. Loyola Press online has these awesome 3-minute meditations that you can do. And they just take a few minutes out of your day, and you can really kind of get your own little retreat every single day. Do it. It's awesome. And one of the questions that was asked was, for what do I need God's forgiveness at this time? And I paused because I feel like I always ask God for forgiveness, but I never ask forgiveness. I never give myself forgiveness. And that plagues my Christian life, my Christian spirituality. Sometimes we get so bogged down by the quote-unquote Catholic guilt that we'll never be able to move on or grow. So just maybe taking a deep breath when your mind is getting plagued by everything you're doing wrong, and just say, I forgive myself. It is so relieving. It's time to recalculate. We need to bust through these negative thoughts of ourselves. A Franciscan friar once said, I am not my mind. I have a mind. I am in charge of my mind. The mind was given to me, and I have responsibility over it. I am not my mind. To proceed on our journey, we need to feel confident about where we are right now, in all of our, messed up things that are going on in life. We need to feel all right in order to proceed on to where we're going, towards Jesus, towards God, towards a better life. But we have to accept the life that we're in. And the first lines of Matt Maher's Turn Around, the song that I talked about earlier, the first lines kind of speak this. They scream it, really. I'm not going to sing it this time. Young man on the side of the road, lost and beat up with nowhere to go. Smells like a hangover from days ago. He does what he can to survive. And in one form or another, I feel like we've all been in that position. We've all been like that prodigal son. Where the prodigal son, he decides he's going to leave his family, leave his father, everything behind, and he's just going to go do his thing and have fun. And then he ends up getting lost, loses all his money, works at a hog farm or something. And then he comes back, and surprisingly, the father greets him. And greets him very happily, as though nothing bad had ever happened. God is like the Father for us, and we're like the prodigal sons and daughters in that way. And just know that the return could be discouraging. The return back, you feel like you're starting over again. But it's not. You're actually growing out of these experiences, so just know that you don't reset. You have to perceive that coming out of these experiences, you've gained a little bit more wisdom than you had before. So don't get discouraged. You grow with every mistake when you learn from them. And that's how we follow Christ. By being human and realizing that we can't do everything perfect. And a couple more examples of discouragement. Our impatience discourages us so much. We want instant gratification. I want it now. Serenity now. Enlightenment now. Heaven now. But we never quite get it. And it's not like spirituality, you do this, this, and this, and then all of a sudden, here you go. It's like a degree. You can hang it up on your wall. Spirituality is not like that. Leading a Christian life is not like that. You don't get a degree with it. And so realizing that slow change is true change. Other people can bog us down too. it is difficult to not get discouraged by our friends and family. I used to work at a coffee shop for years, and for that entire time I was kind of like a closet Catholic, because you get a lot of people who are very anti-religious, not just anti-Christian, anti-religious. And it was due to me sort of growing in my own faith and my own comfort with what I believed, that I was able to say, yeah, I'm Catholic, or I'm Christian. This is me. It's a part of myself, and it's something that's really important to me. So that was a big discouragement that was overcome due to just a lot of practice with just being comfortable with yourself. And you have your friends, your peers, your family, but even the greatest Christians of all time can also discourage us. Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, C.S. Lewis. I will never be them. And that stinks. Like, I want to be great, Like, I want to be Mother Teresa and help all these people and everything, but I'm not. But that's a good thing, because we should not be we should see them as guides, but we should not be exactly like them. We shouldn't take on the life of someone else. We have to embrace our own personality and our own dreams. And there's this Jesuit priest named Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. I probably butchered his name. He's a French geologist. Well, he was. He's dead now. But we need to place our trust in God, and Pierre was one of the people who really gave all these very interesting insights into that. I mean, the man, he's going to be appearing a lot in our series, and he is a big proponent of this concept called Christian mysticism. It's the idea of finding God in every facet of our life, from when you're frying eggs, from when you're talking to your friends or getting coffee or whatever, or chipping the ice off of your car, and recognizing God's presence in even the most mundane of circumstances. And this is how we can be able to become not spiritual narcoleptics, spiritually awake, and just realizing that Christ is present in our world, every part of our lives. And we as Catholics, we encounter Christ especially through the Eucharist. It is one of the most profound things and most intimate parts of our spirituality. And it's literally recognizing Christ within us. It's kind of like the prayer during the consecration, like the blessing of the bread and the wine, where he says, in you we move and have our being. In God we move and have our being. And that's what happens to us when we consume the Eucharist and the blood of Christ. And how's that for instant gratification? That's wonderful. But such is life when we fall upon hard times, like death, loss, sadness, loneliness. These are things that people of all beliefs struggle to try to understand and comprehend. And St. Teresa Avila, she said it best when she said, I do not wonder, God, that you have so few friends the way you treat them. And that's kind of true. We feel this anguish, something bad's happened. But the truth is, struggle is a major part of our spiritual Christian lives. I mean, look at our Savior right here. He took up his cross and he died for all of our sins. We could be able to stand the ability to, take on the hardships of everyday life, the realities that we face in our life, because Christ was able to. He is our example. Basically, it's to accept the chutes in life as ladders to God, in a way. Like chutes and ladders, guys? Cool. Perfect. And to conclude my talk, I'm going to consider the flip-flop once again. The flip-flop represented the little hope I needed. It seems silly, but God communicates to us in the weirdest ways. And also, distractions and discouragement, they take on many veils as well. And a single one of us has a unique set of distractions or times when they aren't at their best. But the fact that we're all here, it means something. It means that we're seeking something together by going deeper. God gave us this worldly existence. It's up for us to make sense out of it. And going back to Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, he said this: "Give the Lord our benefit of believing that His hand is leading you, and accept the anxiety of feeling yourself in suspense and incomplete." And that's from a prayer, The Slow Work of God. And that prayer is going to be coming up in our studies as well. It's a beautiful prayer. And basically, to proceed on this journey, as I testified, we need to change our thinking. We must recalculate how we perceive these distractions and discouragements. There are opportunities for growth. And to finish, I'd like to end with a final quote. Father James Martin, the official chaplain of the Colbert Report, wrote, "No one in this lifetime reaches the end of this journey. The road is our home." The road is our home. Our journey doesn't stop at death. So guys, let's start walking. Thank you.